what it's like training an Army Ranger versus a normal civilian. So, for those of you guys who don't know, I've done a number of work with US Special Forces, whether it be Navy SEALs, Green Beret, US Army Rangers, all the way to high-ranking naval officials, and all the way to even just SWAT and first responders. Now, the reason why I love doing stuff with these guys, and I'm going to talk specifically about Army Rangers, namely a gentleman by the name of TJ. So I won't name his last name. Obviously, if he wants to share this, he can. If he wants to remain anonymous, he can. But TJ is one of those guys who is, he's a straight shooter, like literally and figuratively, in the sense that when you deal with people like this, so just to preface this, an Army Ranger is basically someone who's special operations military within the wing of the US Army. So they've gone through basically Ranger School, which is essentially like additional classes, additional training, learning how to navigate terrains, learning how to survive in all kinds of conditions, learning additional combat skills. So they go from being a standard US Army person to this special elite individual. And it takes a certain type of mindset for someone to get to that place, first of all. One of the things that I've noticed with guys like TJ is that he's very direct and he's very concise. So when you give him a directive, unless he's not sure what you're talking about, he's like, yep, got it, good to go. It's not a lot of waffle and banter and long-winded emails and long-winded conversations that I find a lot of civilian people tend to have. Now, there's nothing wrong with banter and connecting and talking, but I think that one of the reasons why guys like TJ, Army Rangers, are straight to the point is because in that branch of the military, you are trained to get the job done. You're not trained to pad out a mission or pad out an experience with lots of chit-chat and back and forth and deliberation and conversation. Obviously, there is a time and place for understanding a process and understanding a protocol. But one of the things that I love about working with guys like TJ is that he is very to the point. And I tend to be that way as well, so I tend to give someone a directive. And these special operations guys, especially these Rangers, they don't require a lot of hand-holding. That's a big difference. And that's something that, as just a normal civilian, that's something that you probably really want to work on, is that you have to cultivate the discipline within yourself. You have to do the personal development work within yourself. You cannot outsource the result to someone else. A lot of these fat cats out there, one of my mentors calls them fat Ferrari owners, right? They might be an entrepreneur, a business owner, but they're not healthy, they're not in shape, but they have some financial success. They tend to be the type of individual that want to try and outsource their physical transformation. They just want to give someone money, wave the magic wand, and you get them a result. And that's just not going to happen. It's the one area, I would say fitness is the one area where your true results shine. Like the true effort that you put in is showcased in public. You cannot outsource it, you cannot buy it. If you could, every billionaire would be in the best shape of their life. And the reason why we have fat billionaires is because you cannot buy your way to that level of success when it comes to your health. Now, with these special operations guys, they've been through so much. TJ's been through so much training. He's had so many experiences in the field as an operator in some of the harshest conditions, that when you ask him to eat a salad or when you ask him to train a certain way, or when you ask him to reduce his portions of something because we need to get leaner, he's able to turn on that switch and remember the mission. He's able to tap into that higher vision of himself. I also think there's something to be said about the type of person that passes that type of training. They have a level of determination and confidence, and especially when you pass that type of training, I think it amplifies that confidence, because all of a sudden you realize that you've gone from being a standard civilian to someone who can go through training that many people would fail. And so some of the key things that I think are really useful to know when it comes to Army Rangers, guys like TJ, who got a really fantastic result with what I do, and especially with a lot of veterans. A lot of them have TBIs, traumatic brain injuries, PTSD, anxiety. They deal with a lot of addiction. You know, when you're in special operations, when you're in the teams, when you're special operations, even if you're just a veteran in any branch of the US military, when you leave, when you retire, all of a sudden you lose a lot of your identity. And that can really spiral down a path of addiction and challenges. And a lot of these guys have been exposed to a lot of trauma, physical and mental. A lot of them have traumatic brain injuries and repeated concussions. So they deal with a lot of mental health and physical health problems. And a big part of what I do, and the reason why these guys have come to me, is because I came from a place where I had a lot of brain and physical health issues, and I had to solve these problems myself. Like, I had to get off a lot of the medications that I was on. I had to use certain peptides to help almost regenerate my brain. I had to really understand blood work and hair mineral analysis and food sensitivity testing and different types of testing online that can assess approximate brain chemistry and all these things that can either keep you stuck or give you a much higher quality of life based on the levers you pull. So understand, and part of the reason why TJ came to me is because he realized that he would not be able to get to that next level of himself if he did not optimize his nutrition, if he did not optimize his training, his supplementation, all the different things he's doing, all the different levers that we can pull. So when it comes to guys like TJ, one, ask good questions, but get to the point. Don't pad out conversation with just endless waffle and banter and just like lots of words, because you're losing time and you're losing energy because you're expelling so much conversation, right? Like, get to the point, get clear on what you have to do, go away, and keep anchoring back to your why. Keep attaching back to why you're doing this. So TJ has 2 young sons and a wife, and I know he wants to be a shining example of what it's like for those young men as they grow up. And so anytime he's challenged with not wanting to train, or wanting to eat poorly, or wanting to do something that's not conducive with that higher version of himself, he just looks at his family, looks at his kids, and he remembers, this is why I need to do it. And especially with, you know, the Rangers and Ranger training, that notion of if you can make it through the selection process, you can pretty much do anything. Like, if you can get through this hard season in your life, you can do anything. And I think even as a civilian, you can take that to heart, knowing that if you're going through a season in your life where you are challenged, if you put in the work and you put your head down and do what you can right now, you can do anything. But you've got to have that warrior's mindset. And that's something that you cultivate. Because guys like TJ, for example, earlier on in his life, I mean, he was a troublemaker, like me. And we made a lot of poor choices. We were much more impulsive. And I've noticed that with a lot of the special operations guys. Some of the SEALs that I'm connected to, they tend to have come from an impulsive past as well. And I'll talk more about SEALs in another video. But they tend to almost have this addictive personality and come from this compulsive past. And they're able to channel it into something useful, something meaningful, So when you're thinking about your transformation or your health or anything, think about it almost from a perspective of like an operation. Like you're going on an operation. You have to execute these micro tasks to hit the objective. And it lies in your daily process. So for TJ and I, we worked through a lot of his daily process and sort of refined his training, refined his nutrition, gave him feedback on how to adjust things based on how he's feeling. It's those micro actions, when you execute them on a daily basis, that compound to get you to the end of the mission. But you've got to get around people that think that way. And it's really fun dealing with people at that level, because like I said, they don't take a lot of your time, but they get very good results because they're able to pull the trigger very hard and fast. And that does come from their training. And what it makes me realize is that ability to execute is a bit like a muscle. Like the less you execute and the more you procrastinate, you essentially map out and lay down more neural pathways to procrastinate and stall. The more you're able to just like leap forward, fail forward, check off the boxes early in the day before you burn through your fuel tank, you're going to change the game for yourself. But you've got to practice that. It's a muscle that you must strengthen with time. So when it comes to US Special Operations, Army Rangers, guys like TJ, they are the top of the top. And one of the things that I would challenge you to is you don't have to be in the military and you don't have to be in Special Operations to be like these guys and learn a lot from them. But what I would say is follow people like that and model from them. Look at how they behave. Look at their routines. Look at their morning routine. Look at their evening routine. Look at the way they operate. Look at the way they think. And model from it. There's a reason why they have those results they have. Because they're able to execute the objectives. Bang, 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 bang. So I just wanted to share that with you. Because from a special operations world, a lot of that discipline and tenacity and grit transfers over into the real world, into entrepreneurial ventures, into their health and their family, if they choose to focus that way. But that's the driving forces behind guys like Army Rangers, the special elite forces of the US Army, the top of the top. And that's something that I think anyone can cultivate, including yourself.